Today we're going to take a look at a report from the Brightfield Group on consumer trends for buying CBD during a pandemic. Kind of important to take a look at what's happening around the North American marketplace to see what's going to happen down the road with pricing, consumer product trends, buying behavior, all of that stuff. Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your cannabis business podcast. To help us do that is Katrina Glogowski, angel investor and attorney. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
So buying CBD during a pandemic, there's different channels and consumer trends that are going to affect the market overall. So the ongoing pandemic has caused extra stress for consumers, and despite the expense, many are not giving up their CBD during this time. However, with the closing of many retail outlets and stay-at-home orders in place, consumers turn to the outlets for CBD purchases in the first half of 2020, going online for all of their orders. So from quarter one to quarter two, the share of CBD consumers reporting online purchasing rose from 23 to 47%, and top brands reported corresponding spikes in online sales. Then the second quarter saw a height of stay-at-home orders, and brands with the heavy brick and mortar presence were hit especially hard. So online sales, they have struck at the share of consumers who report buying CBD online has held steady in the third quarter. However, the latest data shows consumers are venturing out again. So in the third quarter, 41% of consumers reported that they had recently started shopping in store again for CBD products. Probably just in time for them to go right back indoors during the flu season. I think that was probably, during the summer months, people are ready to get out and do things outdoors, and then right back inside as soon as that fear porn hits with the media kind of shoving all of this down our faces again. But nonetheless, we do have some interesting quarter over quarter trends, and it looks like online is the way to go.
You know, Josh, this statistic is very interesting to me about online ordering basically doubling after the onset of the pandemic. And the reason it's interesting is a lot of online retailers still struggle with credit card processing and how they can access credit cards when you are a open and transparent CBD provider. It can be a struggle. So I wonder if these people that are buying online to see such a jump of a 50% jump in one quarter to online, I wonder if somebody who's shopping, at Prime, which goes to Whole Foods, whether they're just throwing a CBD product in their cart at Whole Foods, which of course does not struggle with credit card processing, or whether these individuals are purchasing from a let's call it a CBD store, for lack of a better term, given the difficulties that these online retailers face. I wish they would address that in this statistic, because it is a fascinating statistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely is going to be the way to go. Online ordering is just kind of a natural progression that people are going towards, away from the malls, more towards online and convenience. But yeah, with stay at home, kind of just makes sense that you have to buy from online. I just wonder what it's going to do to being able to find the best brand, because I know that with online shopping, you don't always find what's actually in the store. There's a disconnect between online availability and what's really in the store. And so maybe you'll find that with isopropyl alcohol or toilet paper. Doesn't seem like it's available online, but it's there. You just have to go and find it. And so maybe the same thing with CBDs. Are you finding really like that full spectrum, or are you just being sold this isolate, hot dog water product that isn't really going to do anything for you, and then you're not going to go back and rebuy it again, kind of maybe utilizing in-store support and help to make that purchasing decision. And if it's not there, what are you buying? But nonetheless, the trends are there. They're going and they're buying it online.
Mhm.
So there are some specialty retailers, in particular CBD specialty retailers and pharmacies, saw an uptick in consumer reporting purchases. So third quarter, you saw 40% of CBD consumers reported purchasing from a CBD specialty retailer, such as CBD American Shaman. And then CBD specialty retailers provide consumers with the ability to learn more about CBD through knowledgeable employees, the ability to sample products, depending on the store, of course. While more mainstream retail outlets now carry CBD, you see CBD only retail stores such as CBD American Shaman have an important competitive advantage in being exclusively CBD focused in a time of general consumer uncertainty, as they boost experience expertise related to those products and offer a wide variety versus just brick and mortar retail channels. So yeah, just kind of what we were just talking about.
Yeah, this is yet another interesting piece of information given the FDA murkiness around CBD, that CBD only specialty retailers are thriving. That's very interesting. Washington, CBD is illegal. So how are you going to have a CBD only store when it's illegal? That being said, less than a mile from my house, there is a CBD beverage store. So it's just interesting how it's happening.
Yeah, CBD beverages were banned in Washington in August of 2018, I think, right after California, the year after California did it. So I don't know. Yeah,
I,
can't have CBD gummies either. I mean, there are certain CBD products that you can buy in Washington, but can't buy gummies, can't buy infused beverages. Makes it kind of hard.
yeah, it does. I still have my CBD face cream though, Josh. Don't worry.
Oh, good. That's good. So there are pharmacies. So in terms of like how people are buying, you have consumers returning in greater numbers to pharmacies, with almost 1/5 reporting buying through the channel in third quarter, compared to only 11% in the second quarter and 8% in the first quarter. So chain pharmacies have increased their brand offerings throughout 2020, though they're still cautious of their product offerings and are sticking to topicals. So during the pandemic, pharmacies have remained open as essential retailers, offering brick and mortar shoppers a consistent, convenient location to find CBD. Pharmacies are also benefiting from the growing mainstream momentum of the CBD industry, which is still drawing in new consumers. They've already recognized and understood and have confidence in the infrastructure surrounding pharmacy retailers and helping to lift social stigmas surrounding CBD, as well as concerns about the products. And in addition, brands such as CBD Distillery have targeted independent pharmacies with new clinical lines that offer pharmacists an exclusive, high quality, and often higher dose offerings to their customers. Like CBD specialty retailers, independent pharmacies can provide individual recommendations and personalized advice about CBD products, and often carry a wide range of products than chain pharmacies. Back to the importance of bud tenders. Like, if you don't really have somebody that can be knowledgeable and tell people about that, it's going to take a lot longer for consumers to get over that hurdle and have peace of mind buying products.
Yeah, the white coat effect. Put anybody in a white coat, and you think that they know what they're talking about.
Mhm.
And this would be a good channel um, for a CBD brand that's looking to establish credibility, get into a pharmacy, and just have or open a CBD only specialty retailer, and everybody wear a white coat as the uniform. I guess I don't know, but this is also interesting because a licensed pharmacist who is actually regulated by the state might struggle with the legality surrounding CBD and might not want to risk their license to help somebody with a CBD product. And so this is just a very interesting report, Josh, that pharmacists who are under a pressure just like everybody else to make money for their store. Uh, CBD would be a good category if their state or other regulatory body is willing to give them some wiggle room on CBD.
Yeah, and I don't know if pharmacists still get kickbacks from big pharma, but that would be a huge hurdle to try and get a pharmacist to recommend something that they don't get financial incentives from. So there's that hurdle too. But to your
Yeah.
point about that white coat phenomenon, my wife worked at the mall in high school for like an essential oil company, whatever. And when trying to recommend, citrus for, a calming or a lavender scent for a calming effect, people didn't really care. But as soon as she put on a white lab coat, people were buying whatever she would recommend. And this, she was just like this little high school girl. But again, wearing this white lab coat kind of gave her a sense of, I don't know, expertise or whatever, just from the white lab coat. So that is kind of an interesting point. But moving on, they're saying what is to come. More brands are offering easy to navigate website experience with consumers continuing to make purchases online. However, consumers still have many questions about CBD. They're exploring different product types. They're looking for expert advice that can be found in many brick and mortar outlets and continue to favor specialists and trusted channels like CBD specialty stores and pharmacies. And once the regulatory uncertainty surrounding ingestibles clear, it'll be more common to see a wider range of product types, including tinctures and gummies in mainstream retailers like grocery stores, big box outlets, and warehouse clubs.
We'll see. You want 1,000 gummy pack from Costco?
Depends on the price. So product trends like beauty, skincare, it's surpassing therapeutic topicals in the second quarter of this last year. CBD topicals was reported to have a third of all of the CBD consumers for the first time. So the growth of CBD topicals, they can be attributed to their ease of use, familiarity with the format, and availability at mainstream retailers. So in the third quarter, topicals for beauty and skincare surpassed therapeutic topicals for use. So from quarter one to quarter three, CBD skincare and beauty topicals increased 83%, where now a third of all CBD consumers report use. So this
Yep.
explosion in CBD for skincare and beauty can be attributed to the growing self-care movement and availability of skincare that has CBD in it. So at spas, hair salons, they're all closed to the pandemic. So consumers took these routines into their home. So the beauty industry in general is experiencing increasing sale of skin, body, hair care as these routines changed. And the additional stress of the pandemic also spurred many consumers to practice self-care routines for the first time. And topicals are an easy way for taking care of your skin. In fact, we just did a podcast recently for the Mask Hero. And that actually got taken down from YouTube because I violated their community standards by talking about a product to help you with your mask. So I had to dispute that. First time I've ever had a copy, or not a copyright strike. I've had a strike against me. It was a warning from YouTube violating their terms and conditions. So I had to dispute that because it is a legal product that you can buy, federally legal, that you can buy in a grocery store. So obviously YouTube's algorithms suck. So, but nonetheless, we are seeing a lot of people using products like, face mask, mask knee, as they're calling it. If you have to wear a mask for 8 hours and you get acne from it, there are products out there to kind of help with that for skin and beauty products. Definitely taking off in popularity.
Yeah. It doesn't really surprise me seeing the pitch decks over the last year and a half, and the fact that cosmetics, SkinCeuticals, cosmetics are not as highly regulated by the FDA as a topical arthritis cream. This also makes sense to go into the skincare industry versus um, towing the line on a medical claim.
And the margins are huge too. So if you're going to look at medical versus, a candy bar, it's going to be a lot more expensive for medical. Even in the same candy bar for a dog, let's just say like you've got a treat for a human and a treat for a dog. The dog's going to be more expensive So it's just a
Yeah.
higher margin. So that's why people are kind of diving into, beauty industry and pet industry. Same product. It's just more SKUs and more margins and more opportunities.
Yeah.
So we're seeing some new CBD users bouncing back, people new to CBD or the newbies. They're exciting customers to watch. So the reasons that they turn to CBD, where they heard about it, and other self-reported markers allow to understand what's driving entry into the market. We can see that the opportunities for brands to continue to draw new users into the market. So third quarter 2020, the number of new users in the market was the highest it's been since declining fourth quarter of 2019, when consumers using 3 months or less made up 14% of the market in Q3, and consumers using 3 to 6 months made up another 17%. So looks like looking at new CBD users by quarter, percentage of all CBD consumers using CBD 3 months or less is 24% in the third quarter of 2019, and then half of that third quarter 2020. So is that because people were trying an isolate or a product that didn't work and they're like, okay, this isn't working as other people talked about it, without really knowing what they were using? I mean, we kind of have to infer what the drop was. Maybe they went from CBD to THC. Maybe they used something that didn't work. It's kind of hard to know.
This statistic, I think, is explainable just as as simple as CBD entering the general market. Um, if you could not buy a CBD product, uh, at Whole Foods or 7-Eleven or Walgreens or whatever, of course you're going to try it for the first time and be a new user in 2019. So this chart, I'm not incredibly impressed by this chart because there's no asterisk that says, CBD became widely available in 2019.
So there's a lot of newbies that are entering the market with tinctures. So newbies in 2020, they shifted away from gummies and reported higher instances of tincture. So in the beginning of the year, newbies were using tincture and gummies at similar rates, with about a third of the population reporting use for each. So as the pandemic set in the second quarter of 2020, the newbies reported higher rates of tincture use, with 47% having used tincture in the past 6 months. Gummies was down 28%. That's a 14% decrease quarter over quarter. And now in the third quarter, newbies are using tincture more than ever, with 56% reporting use. So from quarter one to quarter three, it was a 70% increase in tincture amongst those users. And again, I mean, I think we've kind of been saying it over and over, is that being at home, you're looking for something that's going to last longer and be a higher dose. And you don't necessarily want to be eating these sugar gummies all of the time when it has a limited amount. You just take that tincture and it's going to hit you a lot faster. You don't have to go through the digestive tract as much. Tincture can go quicker through the blood-brain barrier, and you can dose yourself instead of just eating these things over and over. So for me, a tincture was a way that I got through sober October. Using CBD, got rid of my THC, me wanting to smoke, I guess. So using CBD allowed me for me to reduce stress and anxiety, as well as my desire to use THC products and smoke. So that was a surprise to me. I didn't really think that it would reduce my desire to consume or to burn, to combust THC, but it did. And I definitely use a lot more tincture than I have in the last year. I use a ton of it. Maybe other people were using it for the same thing. I don't know.
Well, this chart again is problematic because gummies have been banned in a lot of places. So if you are a habitual consumer of CBD for whatever ails you, and you can't buy a gummy anymore, well, you're going to buy a tincture. The other thing that is not addressed on this chart is price. If you are a habitual CBD user for a medical condition, or trying to get through sober October, or whatever it is, the CBD is very expensive. And if you are going to be sitting there taking 100 milligrams a day, you're not eating gummies. They're too expensive, and yeah, they're fun to have every once in a while, and they're nice and tasty. But 100 milligrams a day, you're not doing gummies. And this chart doesn't address either one of those issues.
So at the same time, newbies are entering the market with a better understanding of dosage. So in the first quarter of 2020, 27% of newbies were unsure of their CBD dosage. And this declined in the second quarter to 21% and hit an all-time low in the third quarter of only 14% of newbies not knowing the CBD dosage that they take. So likely due to the CBD companies prioritizing consumer information on the packaging and website, you saw companies adding mild or moderate or mighty dosage classifications to make the decision easier for consumers. Other labels provided clear directions for consumption with a simple diagram of a CBD molecule or in graphics denoting which part of the body that the product may help. And then online education and other opportunities to try and get people to understand how to use the proper dosage. And with other companies following suit with information tabs on their website. And yeah, I definitely didn't know what my dosage was. You just kind of take it. And then as soon as that stress or anxiety or pain comes back, you just take some more. So I was going from anywhere from 60 to 160 milligrams at per serving, doing that 3 to 4 times a day, just depending on how I needed it. So I think that's the other part, in addition to companies, trying to tell you what your dosage is. Really, it's up to you to kind of figure that out. So new industry, new people trying it out, obviously there's going to have to adjust and learn with the times on how to inform people how to take their product.
I think this is an excellent development. It is needed in both CBD and THC as new consumers come into the market that don't know what they're doing, don't know what they're taking, don't know how much to take, don't know how often to take it. This information is just building credibility of your brand, and I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, it's better than having too much THC and having heart palpitations and overdosing on THC cannabis edibles is horrible. You don't have the same thing with CBD, but you don't want to take too much because you're not wasting it. But if you don't need to take as much, then you don't need to. You can save that for the next time or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of just a new industry, new new ways of figuring out how to dose. Looking at some other pandemic trends. So in the third quarter, the newbie CBD consumers specifically seem to be an influx of new users with children. So 61% of newbies have children in the home, which is up 54% from the second quarter of 2020. So as children stay at home to learn and go to school at home due to the pandemic, parents have felt the strain of greater educational responsibilities. So similarly, newbies are the most likely CBD users to be married as remote work continues, many times from workspaces shared with a partner. Married people are picking up CBD to cope with the changes.
I
Additionally,
just want to stop you here,
yeah,
Josh, because this was a very well worded paragraph to say you've been cooped up with your partner and your kids for 7 months. They're driving you crazy, and you want to be responsible and not drink a gallon of wine every day and not smoke an ounce of weed every day. So I think that they worded that paragraph very, very well.
yeah, and back to the example of Pennsylvania completely banning alcohol on Thanksgiving Day. The north of France banning it during their lockdown, and Greenland banning it entirely during the lockdown. So you can't get alcohol in those areas, but yeah, parents are running out and getting CBD and probably THC products as well.
And anything, anything.
So additionally, the third quarter newbies, they were more affluent than the previous new users. So the new pandemic has left a lot of Americans unemployed or with reduced hours, leaving them with minimal disposable income. However, the white collar Americans spared from the economic turmoil seem to be the most likely to have picked up CBD in the third quarter of 2020. A third of newbies in the third quarter reported an income above 150,000. So Q3 articulated an explosion of affluent newbies, but the numbers of new users in this income bracket has slightly increased every quarter since fourth quarter of 2019. So yeah, parents, wealthy people, if bars are closed down, they're just kind of looking for alternatives, I guess, to cope with kids at home and the stress. And it can't be easy, that's for sure. I don't think they signed up to be teachers and have their kids stay at home and bugging them all day.
I sympathize with families with young children during this time, but the fact that the newbie users are wealthy makes sense because CBD is a pricey product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've got friends that have kids with special needs, and it's been really, really challenging to try and teach them from home. It's been really stressful for them, so they've definitely been using more cannabis and CBD. That's for sure. So consumer trends for heavy usage on the rise. Heavy CBD has held over half since fourth quarter of 2019, has been climbing to 58% in the third quarter of 2020. Logically, the more consumers that uses CBD, the more CBD they must buy. So the growth is in heavy CBD users will fuel the expansion of the US CBD market. And with newbies over indexing for daily and multiple times a day use, we can expect that heavy CBD to continue to increase. So in conclusion, CBD brands are always on the lookout for how new users are behaving. So with the world beginning to settle into a new normal in the third quarter, these trends are strong leading indicators of what brands will need to be are going to successfully go into the fourth quarter of 2021. Additionally, heavy users among new and existing users continue to increase, and so does the lifeline value of CBD consumers, emphasizing the importance for brands to truly understand who they are marketing to, how they can build loyalty and create lifetime customer relationships. So the channels and consumer brands choose to target will influence success in these endeavors, and the fundamentals of the industry remain strong. So companies should be revisiting their strategies and tactics for distribution as well as consumer acquisition.
I really do not think that the average CBD brand is looking at uh, millennials or Gen Z married making over $150,000 as their target market. And this data from the Brightfield Group says that is the sweet spot. Someone who is on the younger side with kids and making a lot of money. Uh, that is an interesting demographic. Of course, everybody wants that demographic, but you might want to change up some of your advertising and marketing dollars to go after that particular consumer if they are going to be buying repetitively and on a volume basis. It's a perfect relationship.
Yeah, and they're expecting, I was watching CNBC this morning, and they're expecting that online shopping is going to overtake brick and mortar for the first time ever. And so they're looking at, Amazon stock pricing increasing because of that. But what about these CBD companies? If this is the opportunity that they'll be able to sell more online than in stores ever, that's an opportunity to get to those folks who have Amazon Prime, who might be more affluent than those, walking into a Walmart, for example. You're going to have to up your spend game, which is going to take a lot of money from a lot of companies that don't, which is why we emphasize, doing business in Puerto Rico and all these other advantages, because how are you going to compete in marketing and advertising if you're, doing business in California that has a huge tax rate and you're spending 16% more than you would be in Puerto Rico, for example. So that's why there's advantages. You've got to look at how you're going to stay in business long term, because if you can't compete, then you're going to end up being acquired, just like they said that the fundamentals remain strong, as well as consumer acquisition. So if you're going to try to acquire consumers, you might be the one being acquired if you're not doing it right.
And a word of caution, when you start going after this consumer and it turns out that it has coconut oil in it and you did not disclose it and they're allergic to it, you are in doo-doo, because that consumer will take action. So as we always say, be clear and be honest on your label of what is in it, because the millennials and the Gen Zs, they really care about where their product is coming from and what is in their product. So this is an opportunity for a cannabis entrepreneur to shine with their product and educate the consumer about their product, and you might have a long-term customer.
Absolutely. Just got to come back to the Talking Hedge and find out. I want to thank my guest, Katrina Glogowski, angel investor and attorney. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.